Centuries ago, humanity stood on the brink of greatness. For generations, people dreamed of reaching beyond their home planet, Earth, to explore the stars and claim new worlds as their own. It was a time of hope, ambition, and boundless curiosity. Scientists worked tirelessly, engineers built marvels, and explorers ventured into the unknown. Slowly but surely, humanity began colonizing planets and distant star systems. These colonies became symbols of human achievement, cities carved out of barren landscapes, farms thriving where nothing had grown before, and cultures blending together under alien skies. At first, everything seemed perfect. Each colony grew stronger with every passing year. Trade routes connected Earth to its faraway outposts, and humanity flourished like never before. People back on Earth looked up at the night sky, knowing that somewhere among those twinkling stars were homes built by their fellow humans. It felt like the dawn of a golden age, a future filled with endless possibilities. But then, disaster struck. No one saw it coming. Not even the brightest minds or most advanced sensors could have predicted what happened next. From the edges of explored space came an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The Krill Dominion. They were not just another species trying to expand their territory. They were conquerors, predators who thrived on domination. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's best efforts, and their numbers were overwhelming. When they attacked, there was no warning, no negotiation, no mercy. The Krill swept through humanity's colonies like wildfire. One by one, the outposts fell. Planets that once teemed with life turned into silent wastelands overnight. Communication. Lines went dark as entire populations vanished without a trace. Refugees fled toward Earth, bringing tales of horror, of cities reduced to rubble, of ships destroyed mid-flight, of families torn apart in seconds. The Krill showed no interest in diplomacy or coexistence. To them, humanity was nothing more than prey waiting to be devoured. Back on Earth, panic spread faster than anyone could control. Governments scrambled to respond, but their efforts were futile. Military forces tried to fight back, launching desperate counterattacks against the invaders. But no matter how hard they fought, humanity's weapons proved useless against the Krill's superior firepower. Ships were obliterated before they could fire a single shot. Ground troops were slaughtered within minutes of landing. Every attempt at resistance ended in failure. As the death toll climbed into the billions, society began to crumble. Cities emptied as people fled to underground shelters, hoping to escape the inevitable. Food shortages became widespread, and riots erupted in the streets. Trust between nations broke down as countries accused each other of hoarding resources or failing to protect their citizens. Leaders argued over strategies while ordinary people suffered. Fear ruled the day, and despair settled over the planet like a suffocating blanket. Yet amidst all the chaos, whispers began to circulate about something ancient hidden deep beneath the surface of Earth. Stories passed down through generations spoke of massive machines buried in forgotten caverns, machines so powerful they could change the course of history. Some dismissed these tales as myths, relics of a superstitious past meant to comfort frightened minds. Others clung to them as their last shred of hope. If such machines truly existed, perhaps they could turn the tide of the war. Perhaps they could save humanity from extinction. A small group of scientists and engineers decided to investigate. Against all odds, they gathered what little funding they could scrape together and set off on a perilous journey into the depths of the planet. Armed with rudimentary equipment and fueled by desperation, they descended into uncharted tunnels, guided only by fragments of old legends and cryptic maps etched onto crumbling stone tablets. What they found left them speechless. Deep below the surface, hidden away from prying eyes for millennia, lay structures unlike anything they had ever seen. Towering constructs made of gleaming metal stretched upward, their surfaces covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light. Strange symbols glowed softly along their frames, pulsating as if alive. The air hummed with energy, vibrating against their skin like an unseen force. It was clear that these were no ordinary artifacts, they were machines, colossal in size and designed for purposes far beyond human comprehension. The team quickly realized that these machines were dormant, waiting silently for someone or something to awaken them. Panels embedded in the walls displayed instructions written in languages long dead, their meanings obscured by time. Activating the machines would require solving puzzles that had baffled civilizations for eons. But the stakes were too high to give up. Day after day, the team worked tirelessly, deciphering codes, rerouting power grids, and testing theories. Mistakes were costly. Some experiments resulted in near-fatal accidents, forcing them to adapt and learn on the fly. Above ground, the situation grew increasingly dire. The Krill fleet had reached Earth's orbit, blotting out the sun with their sheer numbers. Panic gripped the remaining population as reports of orbital bombardments flooded the news. Entire regions were wiped off the map in moments, leaving behind smoking craters where cities once stood. Millions died, and those who survived prayed for salvation, or at least a swift end. Despite the mounting pressure, the team refused to abandon their mission. They knew that failure meant the end of humanity. So they pressed on, driven by determination and the faint glimmer of hope that these machines might hold the key to survival. Finally, after weeks of relentless effort, they succeeded. With a deafening roar, the first machine awakened. Its activation sent shockwaves rippling through the cavern, knocking the researchers off their feet. Lights flickered across its body, growing brighter with each passing second. Metal groaned as joints flexed, and the machine unfolded itself, rising to its full height. It towered above them, dwarfing everything in sight. Its presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a living weapon forged by hands long turned to dust. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a fighting chance. But as the team stared up at the towering giant, a question lingered in their minds. Who or what had created these machines? And why had they been left behind on Earth? Whatever the answers might be, one thing was certain: the war was far from over. The discovery of the ancient machines was both a miracle and a mystery. For centuries, humanity had believed itself to be alone in the universe, or at least the most advanced species within reach. But now, as the towering construct loomed above them, its metallic surface gleaming faintly in the dim light of the cavern, it became clear that someone, or something, had once possessed knowledge and technology far beyond anything humanity could imagine. The team of scientists and engineers, who had risked everything to uncover these machines, stood frozen in awe. The machines' awakening had been violent and sudden, shaking the ground beneath their feet and sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Its movements were deliberate yet fluid, as though it had been waiting patiently for millennia just to stretch its limbs again. Lights pulsed rhythmically along its body, casting eerie shadows on the walls of the cavern. It looked like a giant made of steel and circuits, a colossus built for battle. But what kind of battle, and against whom? Dr. Elena Vasquez, the leader of the expedition, stepped forward cautiously. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had spent years studying ancient texts and deciphering cryptic symbols, and this moment, the culmination of all her work, was almost too much to process. Yet she knew they didn't have time to marvel. Above ground, Earth was under siege. The Krill fleet hovered menacingly in orbit, preparing for their final assault. If humanity was going to survive, they needed answers. And fast. Is it alive? Whispered Dr. Marcus Chen, one of the lead engineers. His voice trembled with a mix of fear and wonder. Elena shook her head. Not alive in the way we understand it. But sentient? Maybe. Look at how it moves. It's not just reacting randomly, it knows we're here. As if to confirm her words, the machine turned its massive head toward them. A single glowing eye, a lens-like structure embedded in its face, focused on the group. For a moment, no one moved. Then a low hum filled the air, resonating deep in their bones. It wasn't threatening exactly, but it carried an undeniable weight, as though the machine was assessing them. It's scanning us, said Elena, narrowing her eyes. Analyzing. Let's hope it decides we're worth keeping around. For several tense minutes, the machine remained still, its gaze unwavering. Finally, it emitted a series of soft clicks and whirs, followed by a burst of light that illuminated the entire cavern. The team shielded their eyes instinctively, bracing for the worst. But instead of attacking, the machine lowered itself slightly, its posture shifting into what could only be described as a stance of submission. "It's acknowledging us," Elena breathed, her voice tinged with relief. "It recognizes us as operators, controllers, whatever the case, it's letting us know it's ready." The realization hit the team like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a tool, a weapon, waiting to be wielded. And judging by its sheer size and the faint hum of energy emanating from its core, it was designed for war. Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly to understand the machine's systems. They called it Titan 1, a name that seemed fitting given its imposing presence. Every inch of its body was covered in intricate designs and glowing panels, each serving a specific function. Some parts appeared to be weapons, massive, cannons mounted on its shoulders and arms, capable of unleashing destruction on an unimaginable scale. Others seemed to serve defensive purposes, generating shimmering force fields that rippled like water when activated. But operating Titan 1 wasn't easy. The control interface was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Instead of buttons or screens, the machine responded to gestures, vocal commands, and even neural impulses transmitted through specialized helmets worn by the operators. Learning to communicate with it required trial and error, patience, and a lot of courage. Mistakes were costly. One wrong command caused a minor explosion that nearly injured 2 members of the team. But slowly, they began to grasp its capabilities. Meanwhile, the situation above ground continued to deteriorate. The Krill fleet launched daily bombardments, targeting cities and military installations with ruthless efficiency. Millions more died, and the survivors huddled in underground shelters praying for deliverance. News of the discovery in the cavern spread quickly, sparking a mix of hope and skepticism. Some believed the machines would save them. Others thought they were grasping at straws. Despite the chaos, the government allocated every available resource to support the project. More scientists and engineers joined the effort, working around the clock to unlock Titan 1's full potential. They also began exploring other sections of the cavern, hoping to find additional machines. Their efforts paid off when they stumbled upon a second construct, slightly smaller than Titan 1 but equally impressive. Dubbed Guardian Dawn, it awakened soon after, doubling humanity's newfound strength. With 2 Titans operational, the team turned their attention to testing their combat abilities. Simulations revealed staggering power. Plasma blasts fired from Titan 1's cannons could obliterate reinforced concrete in seconds. Guardian Dawn's shields deflected simulated laser attacks with ease, proving impervious to conventional weaponry. Together, the machines formed an unstoppable duo, capable of withstanding virtually any assault. Yet, despite their growing confidence, the team couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing with forces they barely understood. Who had created these machines? Why had they been left behind? And why did they respond so readily to human commands? Elena often found herself pondering these questions late at night, staring at the glowing symbols etched into Titan 1's frame. There was something hauntingly familiar about them, as though they echoed a memory buried deep in humanity's collective consciousness. She suspected the answers lay hidden in the machine's programming, but accessing it required breaking through layers of encryption that seemed almost impenetrable. "We're running out of time," Marcus reminded her one evening as they reviewed data logs. "The Krill won't wait for us to figure everything out. We need to deploy Titan 1 now, or risk losing everything." He was right. The enemy fleet was closing in, and Earth's defenses were crumbling. Humanity couldn't afford to hesitate any longer. On the morning of the deployment, the atmosphere was electric. Dozens of soldiers, technicians, and officials gathered in the cavern to witness the launch of Titan 1. The machine stood tall and proud, its glowing panels reflecting off the damp stone walls. Engineers ran final checks, ensuring every system was functioning perfectly. Pilots suited up in specially designed exoskeletons, which allowed them to interface directly with the machine's controls. As the countdown began, Elena felt a lump rise in her throat. This was it, the moment they had been working toward. Success or failure would hinge on the next few hours. If Titan 1 failed, humanity would fall, but if it succeeded, well, the possibilities were endless. At precisely 0800 hours, the order was given. Titan 1 roared to life, its engines rumbling like thunder. With a deafening screech, it launched itself upward, breaking through the cavern's ceiling and erupting into the sky. The sight was breathtaking, a gleaming Titan rising above, the ruins of Earth, dwarfing everything around it. People emerged from their shelters to watch in stunned silence as the machine ascended higher and higher, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. Above ground, the Krill fleet reacted instantly. Ships swarmed toward Titan 1, firing lasers and missiles, in a desperate attempt to destroy it. But the machine shrugged off their attacks with ease, its shields absorbing the blows without a scratch. Then, with precision and power unmatched by anything the Krill had ever faced, Titan 1 retaliated. Plasma bolts streaked across the sky, obliterating enemy vessels in dazzling explosions of light. Entire squadrons were wiped out in seconds, their ships reduced to smoldering debris. The Krill scrambled to regroup, but Titan 1 was relentless. It moved with speed and grace, dodging incoming fire while delivering devastating counterattacks. By the time Guardian Dawn joined the fray, the tide of the battle had already begun to turn. For the first time in decades, humanity struck back, and the universe watched in awe as Earth's war giants awakened. The arrival of Titan 1 and Guardian Dawn marked a turning point in humanity's desperate struggle for survival. For the first time since the Krill invasion began, there was hope, a fragile flickering flame that refused to be extinguished. The sight of the two colossal machines rising into Earth's atmosphere sent shockwaves through the remaining population. People emerged from their underground shelters, staring up at the heavens with a mix of awe and disbelief. They had seen their cities reduced to rubble, their loved ones torn away by an enemy they could not comprehend. But now, something new loomed above them. Not destruction, but salvation. Titan 1 moved like a force of nature, its movements fluid yet deliberate. Plasma cannons mounted on its shoulders glowed with lethal energy, ready to unleash devastation upon the invaders. Guardian Dawn flanked it, its shimmering shields deflecting every attack thrown their way. Together they formed an impenetrable wall between Earth and the Krill fleet, which had grown bolder with each passing day. Now, however, the invaders hesitated. Their ships hung suspended in orbit, unsure how to respond to this unexpected challenge. When the battle began, it was unlike anything humanity or the Krill had ever witnessed. The Krill launched the first wave of attacks, sending swarms of fighter drones and heavy cruisers hurtling toward the Titans. Lasers streaked across the sky, illuminating the clouds as they converged on Titan 1. Explosions erupted around the machine, lighting up the horizon with flashes of orange and red. Yet despite the relentless barrage, Titan 1 stood unharmed. Its shields absorbed the impacts effortlessly, rippling like water under pressure but holding firm. The Krill commanders must have realized their conventional weapons were useless, because they quickly adjusted their tactics, deploying larger ships equipped with experimental weaponry. But it didn't matter. Titan 1 retaliated with devastating precision. A single plasma bolt fired from its shoulder-mounted cannon obliterated an entire cruiser, reducing it to molten fragments that rained down into Earth's atmosphere. Another shot took out a cluster of drones, vaporizing them before they could even reach firing range. Each attack demonstrated the sheer power of the ancient machine, leaving the Krill reeling. Guardian Dawn played a different role in the battle. While Titan 1 focused on offense, Guardian Dawn acted as a protector, shielding both itself and its counterpart from incoming fire. When a particularly large Kryll warship attempted to flank Titan 1, Guardian Dawn intercepted it, using its massive arms to grab hold of the vessel and crush it like paper. The sound of metal groaning under unimaginable pressure echoed through the air, followed by a deafening explosion as the ship disintegrated. The combination of brute force and strategic coordination between the two machines turned the tide of the battle almost immediately. Within minutes, dozens of krill ships lay in ruins, their crews either dead or retreating in disarray. For the first time in years, humanity tasted victory, and it was sweet. As news of the battle spread, morale surged among Earth survivors. People who had spent months cowering in fear suddenly found themselves cheering in the streets. Videos of the Titans' exploits went viral, shared across makeshift communication networks that had survived the Krill's orbital bombardments. Children drew pictures of the machines, depicting them as heroes battling monsters in the sky. Adults whispered prayers of gratitude, believing the Titans to be divine instruments sent to save them from extinction. Yet, amidst the celebrations, questions lingered. Who had created these machines? Why had they been left behind on Earth? And most importantly, why did they respond so readily to human commands? Dr. Elena Vasquez, the leader of the team that had awakened the Titans, wrestled with these questions constantly. She knew the answers might hold the key to understanding not just the machines, but also humanity's place in the universe. During brief lulls in the fighting, she pored over data logs analyzing the cryptic symbols etched into the machine's frames. Some patterns seemed familiar, resembling ancient human languages long thought extinct. Others appeared alien, hinting at influences beyond Earth's history. One evening, while reviewing footage of Titan I's activation, Elena noticed something unusual. Just before the machine fully powered up, a series of glyphs had flashed, briefly on one of its panels. At the time, everyone had dismissed them as part of the startup sequence, but now, studying them more closely, Elena realized they weren't random. They formed a coherent message. "Protectors of the legacy," she muttered aloud, translating the glyphs as best she could. "Guardians of the stars." Her assistant, Dr. Marcus Chen, looked up from his own work. "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure," Elena admitted, frowning. "But it suggests the machines weren't just tools of war. They were meant to safeguard something or someone." Before they could delve deeper, alarms blared throughout the command center. Another krill fleet had entered Earth's atmosphere, larger than the last. This time, they weren't content with probing attacks. They came with overwhelming force, determined to crush the Titans once and for all. The second battle was far more intense than the first. The krill brought everything they had: massive dreadnoughts armed with planet-destroying weapons, squadrons of elite fighters, and even experimental technology designed specifically to counteract the Titan's shields. For hours, the skies above, Earth burned with light and fire as the two sides clashed. Titan I and Guardian Dawn fought valiantly, but even they couldn't withstand such numbers indefinitely. Cracks began to form in Guardian Dawn's shields, and Titan I's plasma cannons overheated after prolonged use. The humans operating the machines pushed themselves to their limits, straining to keep pace with the relentless assault. Sweat poured down their faces as they coordinated movements, dodging attacks and countering with increasingly desperate strikes. Just when it seemed the Titans might falter, reinforcements arrived. From deep within Earth's crust emerged 3 more machines, awakened by teams working tirelessly in other caverns. Dubbed Iron Tempest, Shadow Warden, and Eternal Flame, these newcomers joined the fight with ferocity unmatched by their predecessors. Each machine had unique abilities. Iron Tempest specialized in close-quarters combat, tearing apart enemy ships with its massive claws. Shadow Warden cloaked itself in darkness, striking from unexpected angles, and Eternal Flame unleashed torrents of molten energy, melting through armor with ease. With 5 Titans now in the fray, the balance of power shifted dramatically. The krill fleet buckled under the combined assault, unable to adapt to the sheer variety of threats. Ships exploded in rapid succession, their debris forming a fiery ring around Earth. By the time the dust settled, the invaders had been forced to retreat, leaving behind only silence and drifting wreckage. As the survivors celebrated their improbable victory, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The krill wouldn't give up so easily. They would regroup, analyze their failures, and return stronger than ever. Humanity's newfound strength gave them a fighting chance. But it wasn't enough to guarantee lasting peace. Still, for now, Earth was safe. The Titans had proven themselves capable of standing against impossible odds, and humanity had taken its first step toward reclaiming the stars. As Elena gazed up at the night sky, she felt a spark of determination ignite within her. Whatever secrets the machines held, whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together, and the universe would learn to fear the wrath of Earth's war giants. The victory over the Krill fleet was a turning point, but it wasn't the end of the war. For the first time in decades, humanity had struck back, and not just defensively, but with overwhelming force. The Titans had proven themselves to be more than relics of the past. They were weapons capable of leveling entire fleets and shifting the balance of power in humanity's favor. Yet, as the dust settled and the skies cleared, leaders across Earth knew that this was only a temporary reprieve. The Krill Dominion still controlled vast territories, including key colonies and resource-rich planets. They wouldn't retreat forever. They would regroup, adapt, and strike again with even greater ferocity. But for now, there was hope. And hope was something humanity desperately needed. In the weeks following the battle, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to awaken additional machines buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Each new discovery brought relief and excitement, but also unease. Every Titan was unique, its design tailored for specific roles on the battlefield. Some were built for raw destruction, others for stealth or support. Despite their differences, all shared one common trait. They responded instinctively to human commands, as if recognizing humanity as their rightful operators. This connection baffled researchers, but there was no time to dwell on mysteries. With the Krill threat looming large, every available machine had to be brought online immediately. By the end of the month, 7 Titans stood ready for deployment. Titan 1 led the charge, flanked by Guardian Dawn, Iron Tempest, Shadow Warden, Eternal Flame, Stormbringer, and Sky Sentinel. Together they formed an unstoppable coalition, a wall of steel and fire capable of protecting Earth from any attack. But survival alone wasn't enough anymore. Humanity couldn't afford to wait for the next invasion. To secure their future, they needed to take the fight to the enemy. For the first time in centuries, Earth's leaders dared to dream of offensive action. The decision wasn't made lightly. Launching an assault into Krill-controlled space carried enormous risks. Their ships were outdated compared to the alien fleet, and their pilots lacked experience fighting in deep space. Even with the Titans' unmatched power, success was far from guaranteed. But staying on Earth meant waiting for annihilation. Taking the fight to the Krill offered a chance, however slim, to reclaim humanity's lost colonies and restore their shattered empire. So, plans were drawn up, strategies debated, and resources allocated. Fleets of human ships, though vastly inferior to the Krill armada, accompanied the Titans as they surged into space. These vessels served as scouts, relaying intelligence to the machines, while also acting as decoys to draw enemy fire away from the Titans. It was a risky gamble, but one born out of necessity. Every pilot understood the stakes. Their lives were expendable, but the Titans were irreplaceable. The first target was Zix-7, a heavily fortified Krill stronghold located at the edge of explored space. Intelligence reports suggested it served as a staging ground for attacks on Earth, housing thousands of troops, hundreds of ships, and advanced weaponry designed specifically to counteract the Titans. Destroying it would deal a significant blow to the Krill Dominion and send a clear message. Humanity was no longer defenseless. As the combined fleet approached the system, tension hung thick in the air. Pilots exchanged nervous glances, gripping their controls tightly. Engineers monitored the Titan systems, ensuring they were fully operational. Back on Earth, millions watched live feeds of the operation, holding their breath as the moment of truth drew near. When the fleet entered Zix-7's orbit, the Krill responded with characteristic aggression. Dozens of ships descended upon them, firing lasers and missiles indiscriminately. Human vessels scattered, weaving through the chaos as explosions lit up the void. The Titans, however, remained calm and focused. Led by Titan 1, they charged directly into the heart of the enemy formation, shrugging off attacks with ease. Shadow Warden took the lead, cloaking itself in darkness and slipping past enemy lines undetected. Within moments, it reappeared behind a massive dreadnought, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that tore through the ship's hull. Eternal Flame followed suit, spewing molten projectiles that melted through smaller vessels like butter. Meanwhile, Iron Tempest waded into the fray, using its colossal claws to rip apart anything foolish enough to get too close. Despite their efforts, the Krill fought back fiercely. Reinforcements poured in from nearby sectors, determined to overwhelm the invaders. For hours the battle raged on, neither side willing to yield. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, lighting up the darkness with flashes of blue and red. Ships collided in fiery explosions, sending debris spiraling into the endless blackness. Amidst the chaos, the Titans moved with precision, coordinating their attacks with flawless efficiency. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the tide began to turn. The Krill fleet started to falter, their numbers dwindling under the relentless assault. Sensing weakness, Titan I unleashed its most devastating weapon yet, a gravity pulse that warped the fabric of space around it. Ships caught in the blast were crushed instantly, reduced to nothing more than clouds of dust. The surviving Krill scrambled to retreat, abandoning their stronghold in disarray. With the enemy fleet routed, the human fleet moved in to secure the planet. Ground forces landed on Zik 7, securing strategic locations and disabling residual defenses. By the time the operation concluded, the once impenetrable fortress lay in ruins. It was a monumental victory, one that sent shockwaves throughout the Krill Dominion. Yet despite the triumph, the cost had been steep. Many human pilots had sacrificed themselves to protect the Titans, drawing enemy fire so the machines could operate unimpeded. Entire squadrons were wiped out, their ships reduced to drifting wreckage. Back on Earth, families mourned the loss of loved ones, knowing their sacrifices had ensured humanity's continued survival. But amidst the grief, there was pride. The people of Earth had proven themselves capable of rising from the ashes of defeat. They had taken the fight to the enemy and emerged victorious. The Titans had played a crucial role in this achievement, but it was humanity's courage and determination that truly turned the tide. As the fleet returned home, news of the victory spread quickly. Celebrations erupted across the globe, with people taking to the streets to cheer and dance. Videos of the battle went viral, showcasing the Titans' incredible feats of strength and strategy. Children dreamed of becoming pilots or engineers, inspired by the heroes who had risked everything to save their world. For the first time in years, humanity dared to believe in a brighter future. But Dr. Elena Vasquez, the scientist who had spearheaded the project to awaken the Titans, remained cautious. She knew the war was far from over. While the Krill had suffered a major defeat, they still controlled vast territories and possessed resources beyond imagination. More importantly, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Titans held secrets, yet to be uncovered. Who had created them? Why did they respond so readily to human commands? And why did they seem to resonate with fragments of ancient human languages? Elena spent her nights poring over data logs, searching for answers. During one particularly grueling session, she stumbled upon something extraordinary. Hidden within the programming of Titan I was a fragment of code written in a language eerily similar to Sanskrit, an ancient tongue spoken on Earth millennia ago. When translated, the text read, "Protectors of the Legacy, Guardians of the Stars." Her blood ran cold. These words confirmed her suspicions. The Titans weren't just machines. They were part of a larger narrative, tied to humanity's forgotten history. But what exactly did it mean? And how did the Krill fit into this story? Before she could delve deeper, another crisis demanded her attention. Intelligence reports indicated increased activity along the Krill border, suggesting they were preparing for a counterattack. Humanity's brief moment of peace was about to come to an abrupt end. As Elena gazed up at the night sky, she felt a mixture of fear and determination. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger. But one thing was certain. Humanity had awakened giants unlike anything the universe had ever seen. and whatever challenges lay ahead, the Titans would stand ready to face them. The universe had learned to fear Earth's war machines, and soon it would learn to fear humanity itself. The siege of Zix-7 marked a turning point in the war between humanity and the Krill Dominion. For the first time in centuries, Earth's forces had taken the initiative, striking deep into enemy territory and emerging victorious. The Titans. Titan 1. Guardian Dawn, Iron Tempest, Shadow Warden, Eternal Flame, Stormbringer, and Sky Sentinel had proven themselves to be unstoppable juggernauts, capable of obliterating entire fleets and dismantling heavily fortified strongholds. Yet, as triumphant as the victory was, it came at a cost. Thousands of human lives were lost in the process, sacrificed to protect the machines that had become humanity's last hope for survival. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted across the globe. People flooded the streets, waving flags and chanting slogans in honor of the Titans. News outlets broadcasted footage of the battle repeatedly, highlighting moments of heroism and sacrifice. Children drew pictures of the towering mechs, imagining themselves piloting such mighty warriors someday. It was a rare moment of unity for a fractured species, one where humanity stood together, proud and defiant. But amidst the jubilation, leaders knew better than to let their guard down. The Krill Dominion wasn't defeated, it was merely wounded. Intelligence reports indicated that the aliens were regrouping, consolidating their forces, and preparing for a massive counterattack. Humanity had bought itself some time, but the reprieve wouldn't last long. They needed to strike again before the Krill could recover fully. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the scientist who had led the effort to awaken the Titans, found herself caught between two worlds. On one hand, she was hailed as a hero, her name synonymous with humanity's resurgence. On the other, she carried the weight of unanswered questions about the machines themselves. Who had built them? Why did they respond so readily to human commands? And why did fragments of ancient languages appear embedded within their programming? Elena spent countless hours poring over data logs, piecing together clues that hinted at a deeper connection between humanity and the Titans. Her breakthrough came during an analysis of intercepted Krill communications. Buried within the alien language was a phrase repeated multiple times. "The destroyers have returned." At first glance, it seemed like propaganda meant to rally their troops against humanity. But when translated more carefully, Elena realized it referred not to humans, but to the Titans. Her heart raced as she cross-referenced the phrase with the symbols etched into Titan 1's frame. The patterns matched almost perfectly. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The Titans weren't just relics left behind by an advanced civilization. They were weapons created by an ancient race known as the Ivorians, beings who had once ruled vast swaths of the galaxy. According to fragmented records scattered across the cosmos, the Ivorians had constructed the Titans to act as guardians of peace, ensuring no single species could dominate the stars. However, when internal strife tore their empire apart, the Titans were deactivated and hidden away, forgotten by history. What Elena didn't understand was why the Krill feared them so deeply, or how humanity fit into this equation. Then she noticed something startling. Certain glyphs on the Titans' panels bore striking similarities to early human cave paintings discovered in remote regions of Earth. Could it be possible that humanity shared a genetic or cultural link with the Ivorians? Were the Titans designed specifically to recognize and obey humans? Before she could explore these theories further, another crisis demanded her attention. Reports poured in of increased activity near the Krill homeworld, suggesting they were amassing a colossal fleet. If humanity wanted to end the war decisively, they would need to strike now, before the Krill could launch their ultimate offensive. The final assault began under the cover of darkness. Humanity's combined fleet, bolstered by all 7 Titans, launched toward the heart of the Krill Dominion. Pilots whispered prayers as they prepared for what might be their last mission. Engineers worked feverishly to ensure every system was functioning flawlessly. Back on Earth, millions gathered around screens, watching live feeds of the operation unfold. As the fleet approached the Krill homeworld, resistance was fierce. The aliens threw everything they had at the invaders: stealth ships, plasma torpedoes, gravity traps, and experimental weaponry never seen before. Human vessels fell like leaves in a storm, their pilots sacrificing themselves to shield the Titans. Yet despite the overwhelming odds, the machines pressed forward relentlessly. Titan 1 led the charge, its plasma cannons obliterating anything in its path. Guardian Dawn formed a protective barrier around the fleet, deflecting incoming fire with ease. Iron Tempest tore through enemy formations, its claws rending metal as if it were paper. Shadow Warden slipped behind enemy lines, sabotaging key installations and disrupting communications. Eternal Flame unleashed torrents of molten energy, melting through even the thickest armor. Stormbringer summoned artificial lightning storms, frying entire squadrons in seconds. Sky Sentinel soared high above the fray, providing aerial support and reconnaissance. For hours, the battle raged on, neither side willing to yield. Explosions lit up the void, painting the darkness with flashes of light. Ships collided in fiery eruptions, sending debris spiraling into the endless blackness. Amidst the chaos, the Titans moved with precision, their coordination flawless. Each machine played a crucial role, working together like pieces of a well-oiled machine. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the tide began to turn. The Krill fleet started to falter, their numbers dwindling under the relentless assault. Sensing weakness, Titan 1 unleashed its most devastating weapon yet, a gravity pulse that warped the fabric of space around it. Ships caught in the blast were crushed, instantly reduced to clouds of dust. The surviving Krill scrambled to retreat, abandoning their homeworld in disarray. With the enemy fleet routed, the human fleet moved in to secure the planet. Ground forces landed on the surface, securing strategic locations and disabling residual defenses. By the time the operation concluded, the Krill homeworld lay in ruins. Their command structure collapsed, their resources depleted, and their morale shattered. It was a decisive victory, one that effectively ended the war. In the aftermath, humanity faced a new reality. The Krill Dominion was broken, its remaining factions too weak to pose a significant threat. Colonies once lost to invasion were reclaimed, and trade routes reopened. Slowly but surely, humanity began rebuilding its shattered empire. Yet the Titans remained shrouded in mystery. Though they had saved Earth from extinction, their origins continued to elude researchers. Fragments of Avorian history hinted at a deeper connection between humanity and the ancient race, but conclusive evidence remained elusive. For now, the machines stood silent, waiting patiently for whatever challenges lay ahead. As Dr. Elena Vasquez gazed up at the night sky, she felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. Humanity had awakened giants unlike anything the universe had ever seen, and in doing so, had rewritten its destiny. But the road ahead would be fraught with uncertainty. New enemies might rise, old secrets might resurface, and the Titans themselves might hold truths humanity wasn't ready to face. Still, one thing was certain. The universe had learned to fear Earth's war machines, and should danger arise again, the Titans would stand ready to defend their creators. Earth had survived, humanity had endured, and the stars belonged once more to those brave enough to reach for them.